reading graphs. Now, when you're reading graphs, it's important to really look at the entire graph before you start making assumptions. So before we even answer this question at the bottom, let's just look at it. First, notice the title. Here we are talking about enrollment by academic school for the years 21 to 22. And this is at Ivy Tech Community College. Those are two things we can see just by looking at what's happening. Now, you'll notice we have percentages on the vertical axis. We are dealing with bar graphs. And we've got the academic school across the bottom. So now we're going to answer questions about this particular graph. So what is represented across the horizontal axis? Remember, horizontal is left to right. And so these are the academic schools. Now you could even go further to say the academic schools at Ivy Tech Community College, because specifically it's this school, right? It's not academic schools everywhere. It is specifically at this school. What's represented along the vertical axis? Well, now we see percentages. But percent of what? Well, it's the percent of enrollment that lives in each school, right? So if we just look at this first, if we look at this first bar here, so this is advanced manufacturing, engineering, and applied technology, and it's at about 12%. So we would say 12% of the enrollment is enrolled in the advanced manufacturing, engineering, and applied technology school. That's the idea of this percent of enrollment per school. Number 3, if you were to add all of the percentages represented from the academic schools, what total percent should you get? That's the key word here. Because if these are all of the academic schools, if you think about percents, what does all represent? It represents 100%. So if this represents all the schools, then it should be 100%. And just for fun, I went through and said, I estimated each one. So I said this was about 12, this was about 26, and I estimated, right? These are not right on. So when I estimated, and seriously, I estimated first, and then I added all of these together. Y'all know what I got? I got 100%. So if that doesn't just tell you how fabulous this is, I don't know what does. Let's go to number 4. What conclusions can you draw from this graph? Now, we could spend 8 hours talking about conclusions if we really wanted to. But let's just look at some big ones. The highest bar is health sciences. So health sciences is the largest school, right? It's about 25%. Keeping with that idea, if you look at information technology and public affairs and social services, they're pretty close as the smallest schools, and those are at about 8%. So those are two conclusions I can draw, right? The largest school, the smallest school. And then we can kind of go from there of, what's your favorite? I'm a big fan of the arts, sciences, and education, and that I'm a math person, which is part of sciences, and I teach, part of education. So maybe we say the most important, that is completely my opinion, the most important one is about 20%, right? These are just conclusions that you can draw. Maybe you want to be a nurse, so your important one is there. Whatever. So these are all conclusions that you can just make about each of the bars. Entirely up to you what you can pull from that. Now, what information is not provided? Well, hopefully you've noticed that because we're dealing with percents on the vertical axis, we don't actually know the number of students. So if you say, well, how many students are in health sciences? I don't know. It's 25% of the enrollment. That's as much as I know. I don't know what the enrollment is, so I can't figure it out even mathematically. The other thing that I'm thinking about is this one campus? Because I know that Ivy Tech is a group of 19 campuses and then additional instructional sites beyond that. So is this just one campus or is this the entire college? I don't know. It doesn't really say. I would kind of assume it's the entire college, but you know what happens when you assume. So those are just kind of some things that we can look at of what's missing is that this is information we aren't really sure about. And that is some keys and guidance to reading graphs.